Hey, I'm Dave Filoni, supervising director of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and I'm here to talk about the Battle of Mon Cala. This is the epic conflict that starts off Season 4. It's something a lot of older Star Wars fans like myself have waited a long time to see. The complete water planet of Mon Cala, and how Akbar, a character from Return of the Jedi, kind of fit into this time period of Star Wars during the Clone Wars. So I brought together a couple of my leads, Joel Aaron, Killian Plunkett, and Keith Kellogg, to talk about it. And we're going to go underwater, deep underwater, and get down to what it took to make this really bizarre conflict. So this was it was going to be a big deal to make this. I've said it several times, but, you know, we had to go to this planet, but nothing that we really had was usable on the planet. We had to have new buildings, new environments, 2 new species. That's a great long jump Anakin and Padme do out of that shit.
How they don't
like
die.
a Greg
Fine.
Louganis jump they're making there at that point.
They're Jedi, you know.
They are.
She's
they slow down before they hit.
True.
Oh, Padme is.
That was Padme, yeah.
That was
but
Padme.
She must be, well, she had really good swimming classes on Naboo. A lot of people don't know that, but
That's right.
fearless.
a hobby of hers before senating. So what was it like animating all these underwater characters, Keith?
You know, it was a challenge because, I mean, you know, like we said, we didn't have walk cycles, we didn't have anything, so we had to keep them moving all the time. So even when you watch, like, when we're in the Senate, it basically just, you know, you have to keep their feet moving, you have to keep them bobbing all the time. So it was like, you know, normally we could put a cycle in or just a held character. We always had to have everything moving, and teaching the physics of the whole thing where, you know, you lead more with your head when you're diving through things and stuff. You know, it was a whole different kind of thing for the team. So it was definitely a challenge for sure.
There's a great shot for scale and water density. Getting the depth of it was going to be a big challenge for us. You know, being in water isn't the challenge, but it's giving you the feeling through the animation, and then the bubbles.
Yeah.
We ran out of our bubble budget.
Bubble budget. Yeah. This is a tough one.
Quickly.
Well, no, the cameras too, because it's like, especially the first episode, it's like that's kind of your shock into water where everything's just kind of drifting, almost like it's a scuba diver kind of holding the camera, and it worked really well. But yeah, all we did was just take, to get the silt, was just take all the dust motes we've used in previous episodes and just put them in here and just make them just a little bit brighter every once in a while, and it just looks like silt. It just fills that volume of space to make you think you're in water.
That was one of the more shocking things that Dwayne Dunham, who shot this, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
You know, I thought in a lot of ways it was fortunate to have Dwayne do the first one of these. He's such an experienced filmmaker that he brought up all kinds of great ideas, like having the cameras be more underwater cameras.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Yeah.
when we designed the city, I had these tube transportation systems designed, mainly just because I thought they looked cool. They weren't really in the script at all. They didn't play a major role, but I knew you'd need, like, well, you don't have a sidewalk underwater,
No,
so
yeah.
you'd have tubes. They remind me of like hamster tubes, you know. So when Dwayne, I saw the first cut of it, and I had mentioned that he should use these tubes, he really went all out. What I didn't really anticipate, because I knew they were jet streams of water, was how just intense that would make things to have us moving through the water so quickly. And there's all our geo shaders.
Lots and lots of characters. That's one thing Dwayne wasn't too shy from.
No. Dwayne's episode was 5,000 characters over the legal limit of
Yes, it
characters you
was.
can have in an episode.
Yes.
He's very proud of that.
Yeah.
It was astonishing.
But even, I mean, cutting it down, you know, it still looks, it's epic in terms of the amount of characters we have on screen. It was just crazy.
That was a fun one to cover up the
Yeah.
Cover up the
Yeah.
shark chomping over.
bubbles.
White powder. Yeah.
Bubbles make everything less violent.
That's right.
It was a good lesson for us there.
And there's the bubble fountain, which I like, the reverse fountain where it was air.
Air coming
in
out.
water
yeah.
coming out.
That was a good
It's
one.
fascinating to sit
Really
around and
good
watch
idea.
air.
Yeah.
It's like-
You know.
That's another interesting thing, is that little plate, that kind of community area that they all hang out in the exteriors, was just kind of an addition that Paul Zinnis and I made really late in the design of the city. I was like, we need some kind of central courtyard area, so let's just pull this off of here, let's glue it here and enlarge it, and it became the focus point.
Well,
It's true.
That's
where everything.
Yeah, that's kind of always what happens. The other thing, too, is that the way this was scripted, it was more like a traditional city. And we'll find that in scripts all the time, where they're describing alleyways and streets and all the things you would see, but this is so different to what any normal city would be that you have to figure out what the equivalent of that's going to be. So that's where that plaza thing.
Well, because remember, the original concept design had steps in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Why are they going to have stairs?
How are you gonna?
They're not really going to use them.
That's true.
So instead of stairs, we started making openings and spaces where people would swim through. And
Right.
that was a big consideration for you and I in the design phase. We had to think not just about walking in and out of a room,
Yeah.
because they're not walking. They might swim out the top of the room or go out the bottom. I mean,
Well, there's all the other things that would normally help you sell scale, like safety railings and stuff. Why? Like if you step off the edge, you're just going to keep floating sideways anyway.
true.
So, it was tricky because we had so little time to come up with what was effectively an entirely new city that you just had to wing it, you know.
yeah, I think it was a very big challenge.
Take a base of action.
Ever since you've seen Return of the Jedi, you thought, wow, where are these guys
Where's
from?
it from? Yeah.
What's their civilization like? And
Enemy ships in Sector 27. It's a trap.
Jose Molina, who wrote the arc, is a huge Star Wars fan. And I know that he was really, really excited to get this arc to do. At one point, there was a character, I think, did the king stay? Was his name still Mose Colina? I think his name was Colina. But there was a character that was named after Jose at one point. We thought it was a little too obvious, so we actually changed it. But yeah, it's still got his fingerprint on it. He's fun to work with. I mean, it's great when you have people that are very into Star Wars. And it probably shocked people up for me to say that. It's like, but not everybody has this super deep knowledge of everything in the wars.
Definitely.
Like, you know, point
Don't
it over
point
there.
the finger. I actually like, though.
Pointing at Joel. What are you talking about?
Well, it's good though when people aren't. They're just sort of interested in the story and stuff, so their perspective is not sort of tainted. They're not sort of coming at it from reading comics or playing games or anything. They just want to know what's going
They don't have
on.
a preconceived notion.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, there are the
things,
people that watch the story, and they actually want to, you know, kind of watch the story and see the story for what it is. And then there are people that almost watch everything with a checklist, saying, okay, well, they got this right, and they got this right, but they didn't get this right, they didn't get this right. And,
Well, weren't the buildings based off of like the spaceships, right?
Mon Cala
The
cruisers,
the cruisers.
Yeah, we went down to the archives. Any excuse to get down to the
Any
archives.
excuse.
And we did look at all of the models, which are still there of Home 1 and stuff, just to see, you know, what sort of detailing. It's amazing how much of that stuff is just stenciled, sort of airbrush.
Yeah.
well, the logic was that the ships, if they took off, would take off
They would
vertically.
take off
you know, at least from certain areas that an underwater people would have developed ships that could actually lift off from
out of the
underwater,
water.
Yeah.
lift out of the water, and then take off.
I don't
and-
know about the physics of that, though.
Here he goes.
Yeah.
There it goes again.
surface
No, you
tension.
fill it with air pressure.
Yeah, but
we
even
got
so,
this
breaking
guy.
like that much surface
He
area.
designs all
coming
kinds
up.
of spaceships that couldn't
But is it,
possibly fly, and
how
he's worried
it's
about
actually gonna
physics.
work?
Wait, we're talking about squid people that talk too. So.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Spring the trap.
This was where a lot of our effects budget went to in this one, huh?
Yeah.
All the ships coming down.
Any epic explosion. I think all of these, effects-wise, all three of the episodes were completely just pegged.
Yeah.
Absolutely pegged. Because it's like, you know, you have a war episode where you have explosions, you can get used to doing the same thing over and over again, but when you're underwater, everything is different. We had to redesign the depth charges, the explosions, the bubbles coming off everything. The one thing that we couldn't get in that everybody keeps reminding me of is the lightsaber. The lightsaber, shouldn't lightsabers have bubbles off it? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. But,
Wouldn't it?
you know, it would be really awesome. It'd be so
That would
awesome.
be great.
But I'd much rather have a frigate explode over the water surface and have bubbles coming off the trailing pieces than every single lightsaber. And then, you know, you just kind of let it go after a while.
Well, this is one of those ideas where the original idea is just an escape, but to take it to the level of Star Wars, I said, well, what if, you know, that ship, when it exploded, it just rained down.
Yeah.
So we kind of tweaked the script so that you have these massive pieces coming down through the water and really take it to a, you know, a cinematic level of just destruction and turbulence, which we did later when there's the whole vortex.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Squid vortexes. I mean, that's also something that was added later in production when I was trying to come up with something that made this battle unique. Now here, this is one of my favorite parts.
This was so much fun.
The Gungans
The Gungan
attacking.
army.
The ship was much higher too, which was
If,
funnier.
if you can believe it, the ship was higher.
ship
There
was-
they go. I cut that shot shorter, and then that's
used to
still
be
a
like-
good
it's still a
100
pretty good
yards
joke.
or more.
It was
And then
a, like,
always the obvious joke, which the writers we brought up with George in the first meeting, was how do we know the Gungans can breathe this water? They might hit that salt water and be like, the whole belly up army, but yeah, I mean, it was tempting. But yeah, the first time Brian O'Connell shot that, I mean, they were so far above that water. I'm like, there's just a bunch of dead Gungans in the water.
Yeah.
There are 2 groups of Jedi, one in the lower city center, and 2 releasing the prisoners near the coral base.
The prisoners. The prince must be with them. I'm committing the reinforcements that Count Dooku sent to the attack. He will not escape this time.
Yeah, this is now, this is the turn them up
Yep.
moment of when they're all going to get captured.
Turn them up!
This was fun. I mean, but a huge scale battle in every episode. I mean, the original thing read as one lengthy battle, which is very taxing on our show, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The idea here was always that the organics would get tired. The squids, they wouldn't be able to fight, but neither would the Mon Cala after a point, neither would the clones, neither would the Gungans, where the aqua droids
The droids, yeah.
they can weather it.
Yep.
Which does make you wonder why the Republic didn't just build their own droid army. I mean,
Well, then that wouldn't be clear, would it?
Well-
you spend all your money on clones. You can't spend all your money on droids.
I mean, instead of clones, wouldn't it have made more sense to just build your own droid?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Well,
What
the
is-
show
what
could
is-
still exist.
You're like undermining the
called
whole
the
concept here. It's
No,
not called the
just
Droid
be
Wars.
called the
It's
Droid
called the
Wars.
Clone
It'd be
Wars.
fine.
Droid Wars. And this comes from the guy. Didn't you illustrate several droid comics?
That was the first, professional Star Wars stuff I did was covers for droids.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's safe to say you have a droid
Well,
bias.
no, but I've
You have a
always
droid
liked the
bias.
droids. Yeah.
In fact, aren't you the originator of C-3PX? You drew C-3PX.
I did the cover, but I think Ian Gibson actually, it's 3PO with an X on his head. Let's not go nuts, but
The originator's a little far, I guess.
yeah, no, I think it was Ian.
You see.
That's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
But this droid bias goes back a ways.
Oh yeah. I mean, even as a kid, I liked the droids.
When Pete Baker sees this, and he sees that you're basically trying to undermine clones.
He could do the voice of the Republic
Oh,
droids.
I see.
He could.
They could sound
He would
like
do
they're
every
from
one
New
of them,
Zealand.
yeah.
It's fine.
Nice.
I'm just
I
saying,
see. Wow, what a rebel in our midst.
That's right.
I'm just saying,
Sith betrayer.
they'd still be cool. They just wouldn't be
Let's-
clones,
let's just-
and they wouldn't get tired.
Let's summarize this one, because this one's your best yet.
You like this one?
We work on a show called Clone Wars,
Uh-huh.
and yet you're questioning the reason to have clones at all.
You are the one that brought up that organics would get tired. I'm
In
just
this
saying, why does the
situation,
Republic?
in this
No,
one,
in this one-off
situation.
So clones never ever get tired anywhere else?
They get
get
tired, but they
tired.
also don't rust. I mean, let's bring up all the
There's other
maintenance
things.
problems.
But you don't have to feed droids.
Wow, man,
I'm just saying.
it's a difficult one.
I have to say, if you are
need
talking
to
about
power
rusting,
them.
putting
You need to power
droids in
them.
Here he
water.
goes. This is why right here, when I go out in
Droids.
public, I'm so prepared when I go to the cons. There is nothing
Each
a
and every
fan
question.
can challenge me with that Plunkett can't
Yes.
ace them out.
It's true.
In fact, they're lucky that I go instead of him because arguing with Plunkett almost impossible. It's one of the reasons
I'm just
he
one
came
of
on
many.
board.
Come on.
You are one of many. It's true.
I'm
That
not
was a
even the
great
worst
fight.
one.
I'm
just the one sitting
my
here being
favorite
picked
one,
on.
though.
That's all.
Yeah.
That was a
Now
cool
what? Now
fight.
what? Let's look.
Oh look, now
Man, that the
yeah.
Mephisto fight, and I mean, doing his tentacles throughout this whole thing, that was another just huge challenge that CGCG really rose to. I mean, you look
they're
at it
brilliant.
and it's really good. I mean, I don't know who decided to put Kit Fisto in this whole thing, but man,
Have to have Mephisto.
Yeah.
Have to have Mephisto.
you're right.
And evidently he has to be shirtless.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the
There
big
isn't
draw, right?
Another option.
Yeah, it's good that his Jedi Speedos are still brown too. It's like,
Well, there
Always
has to
brown.
be some kind of uniformity
That's
to
right.
this, right?
yeah,
Otherwise, he could be any other.
Uh-huh.
Any Nautilin, just- yeah.
yeah,
Remember when we were going to go to Glee Anselm?
yes.
We
That
had
was
the whole
at the end.
planet
Children of
design.
the Force.
It was Children of the Forest. We had the whole civilization plan. We had the
Wow.
probably breaks all kinds of EU though. To be perfectly honest, we had them living on the backs of massive undersea turtles. Remember?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
these turtles would like rise up, and the whole cities were like on the backs of these turtles, and but they were so huge that you couldn't really even tell that they were living things. And then they would be above water for like what seemed like a couple hundred years, and then their cycle they would go back underwater.
Yeah.
So you were either born in a time that you were above water, or born
Wow.
in a time you're below water, and that's
You remember
kinda
my
what you
question
knew.
about that?
No, but let's
Oh boy. Here we
let's
go.
hear it. I can't wait.
What are the turtles eating? Like if you're a
I told you that. There's all
France-sized-
kinds of brine.
If you are a
They're getting
France-sized
nutrients
turtle,
right out of the
visible
water.
from space,
Man, Discworld must be a hard sell.
I
for you.
can't handle it.
A Discworld before?
This
That's kinda
guy.
similar.
Shark.
Well, I'll put you on the spot right now.
All right, go.
Are you or are you not in favor of Ben Quadraneros being in the show?
Uh-oh.
Ben Quadraneros?
Ben
No,
Quadraneros.
I don't think there's a space for Ben Quadraneros in the show.
There you have it there. So anyone
Yeah,
that...
I don't think it should happen.
Okay, so
That's
there
just
it
me.
is. There it is.
Yeah, but that's just me.
Well, there it is.
Personally, I don't
What's
see
your reason?
why. I think it's just you want to leave the mystery where it is, you know.
The mystery.
Yeah.
Really.
You don't
He's a
mess
loser.
with the legend of Ben
The whole
Quadraneros.
rest of Phantom Menace.
That,
is-
look,
There's
that
not
could be
much
his
mystery.
one bad race. We don't know.
Oh, yeah, he's like
He could be. We don't know.
superstar.
He could be.
He could-
I mean, we could do a whole sort of Senna documentary style thing.
Senna, yeah. we
Just
could.
about
That'd actually be
Ben
great.
Quadraneros.
Yeah.
You know, because that was the one sort of tragic race that he entered was that one where it didn't work out. But otherwise,
that one. that one didn't quite seem to go his way.
yeah. But so yeah,
Actually, a really good idea. I'd be into that.
We've completely
What?
Gone
Oh
off
yeah,
the-
look,
completely gone off the
calamari,
rails.
Yeah.
Now we're back to eels.
back to eels. Very, very dangerous.
That's right.
Very dangerous.
Very, very dangerous.
I couldn't resist. I had to. I like how we humanely opened that eel cage too.
Yes.
That none of the giant eels were harmed in there.
No, not at all. No giant eels were harmed in the making of this show.
I love those eels. The eel cage was, I think it was a George request. It was a really nice difference for us as opposed to all the Jedi electric cages.
Yeah. Make it a little bit more organic.
I remember when we did the Jar Jar mucus membrane
yes.
Oh yeah.
on Padme's helmet. Cat
Yes.
Tabor was not very pleased with me, and I was like, "No, don't worry, this is gonna be good." She's like, "Dave, Jar Jar spits on me." I'm like, "Nah, you're thinking of it wrong. You're in water. It doesn't really count."
It's on your helmet. It
Doesn't really
doesn't really
count.
get to you. It's all good.
But I thought her delivery, really sells it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It makes
Definitely.
it pretty funny.
Plus, the one we picked wasn't the worst one. There
No,
were
that's right.
worse versions of
Oh,
that
the
spit.
mucus itself.
Yeah, yeah.
you
Oh
mean.
yeah, there were like
Yeah.
there
And
was
even
some
then,
pretty
I had to
gnarly
back
looking
it off
stuff
so it
at
wasn't
some
so
point.
opaque. Yeah. Here's where we started to just go more green, like
Yeah.
the fish tank. Like the whole idea of this whole arc was that as the Mon Cala were as the tides were shifting, we just basically just made it look like a dirtier and dirtier fish tank. So by the time you get to here, it's just like this mucky green, and Sean Wells just pushed it so far in color correct.
Yeah.
And then so at the very end when we go back, it's like blue and clear.
That really works great.
I love our implosion explosions here.
Comes Akbar's hat adjustment.
Yeah.
He cracks his neck.
This shot's just nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
The scale right there is great with the
Thing
ship
going by.
behind it. Yeah.
And this we just, for all explosions, we had everything implode. So instead
Yep.
of things going out, it goes in and then out. You just get this effect that water takes over like that. Whoop, 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 goes in.
Yeah, I love this crashing into the building here.
And the legs falling is such a nice touch.
There go all the hamster tubes.
I always thought of them as micronaut tubes. Remember
Micronauts?
micronauts?
Oh, yeah.
See, that's what I thought
yeah.
immediately when I saw that.
They reminded me of the Jetsons. I don't know.
A little bit.
Kept picturing George
Anything,
Jetson and Astro like going up these tubes.
Yeah, a good battle itself can be 22 minutes
Yeah.
just to tell the story points of it and to make it exciting and have dynamic action.
Love
A
that
good
pose.
battle with all the plot moving on around it and through it.
Yeah.
It's a real tight job on our show. This is probably one of the
this is-
pretty
this is
intense
pretty nice.
things
Yeah.
right
Pretty
here.
intense. Yeah.
I remember when
Cool implosions.
they came up with this story, and I was just
It's not
like,
Danny.
wow.
It was Danny, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Danny
Danny
Kelly.
had, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's on me because I approved it and I let it go. And I said, well, let's make sense as a weapon underwater. But this right here now was, I wanted a cooler way to take out Riff Tamson. It wasn't really a super defined thing. So since we're such a big Jaws fans,
Yeah.
I thought I'm going to throw this in here for Joel and really
It's
just
fun.
go right at it. And kids probably haven't seen Jaws, so they'll think this is wholly original. But
Right. There you go. Since there's that other movie.
We
that
didn't say
you're
smile
not
for
allowed
me,
to watch
so
that
you
movie,
know.
but, yeah.
But we got the bits in.
this is it
That's-
right
This
here.
is
Yeah,
the
with the
head,
bits and then right
yeah.
here.
Actual shark bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very happy.
And there's the head, which is, you don't see that every Friday.
No.
Nope.
That's for sure. He was a cool villain, too. I mean, he turned out
was.
really good for the 4 episodes.
It was a good arc. It was a big challenge
Yeah, definitely.
on the whole production. It was like a completely different movie film
Yeah.
series for us to do that didn't really, even right down to Anakin and Padme and Ahsoka, we couldn't even use our regular models of them. Everything had to be
everything,
built.
yeah.
So you take these 3 episodes and you're looking at almost universally everything in
It's
them
brand
being
new.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to do that from scratch
Yeah.
tells you how hard all the crews worked
Yeah.
globally on this show. It's quite an achievement because most of the time we rely on having assets. I don't know how you guys got it all designed, let alone built. I mean, every time we
They
do
were
an
long
episode, we
days.
have to go in and sit down. It's probably, I make it a big deal because I may like to make Plunkett feel bad, but he and Liz Marshall and the Angle, they have to come to me with a basic breakdown of every episode and say, well, this is what we can do and this is what we can't do, but we have these solutions.
Right.
And there are tons of things in every script that end up getting cut, left on the drawing table that we can't even get designed because we don't physically have the time to do it.
Yeah.
But often we'll find stuff that's at least a starting
Something
point,
there,
and then you can
yeah.
sort of make
Right.
something. But with this, we couldn't. It was
There
it had
wasn't,
to
yeah.
be
I mean,
new.
a lot of times we'll repurpose different sets, we'll move
Yeah, yeah.
things, we'll
Yeah.
redress it, just like you would in a live action production.
Every phase, it was like it started in design. You could see how taxing it was. Then in story, it was like the guys were really working hard, and then it went overseas, and it was like we were pushing those teams like
we started
crazy.
thinking like as soon as the treatment came in, that
Yeah.
I saw like, man, 3 episodes
So
are
it's
completely in
Yeah.
water.
Well, it was interesting to see the progression too, like
Yeah.
of the teams. You could see as they kept going,
Yeah.
they got better and faster at it because they started to understand it. But those first episodes,
Long live the king! Long live